Hi, this is 15-Minute Email Academy. I'm Bob Serling, and today my guest is Yanik Silver. Now, you know, most introductions start with some baloney about how the person being interviewed started 14 businesses before the age of 18, and all of those made millions and were then bought by Megacorp International. But Yanik isn't the ordinary interviewee, and that's not his story. So let's get down to the points that really matter. So first of all, in addition to being the founder of Evolved Enterprise and Maverick 1000, a partial list of Yanik's most important accomplishments include: he won the Oscar Mayer Wiener Ice Hockey Shootout Championship twice as a kid. He dressed as a showgirl in Las Vegas to surprise Richard Branson on stage before a keynote address, and he did this in front of 3,000 people. He's broken 200 miles per hour in a race car while wearing nothing more than a green Speedo, and he can still sing most of the solo from his fourth grade performance as the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz. Hey, with those kind of credentials, I couldn't be happier to have Yanik share one of his best emails with you today. So welcome, Yanik.
Perfect. I love that intro. That's great. Thanks, Bob.
All right, and then it's recorded for posterity. All right, so let me grab the email, bring it up on the screen here. There we go.
Yeah, that was quite a funny a moment of surprising Branson as a showgirl.
I'll bet.
I literally had no idea until I removed my, I don't even know what, additional thing of feathers, and it was funny. We have that on tape and pictures.
That's great. And 3,000 people, that must have been funny. Did you have second thoughts about it, or was it just such a kick that you just...
No, I mean, I didn't have any time to do second thoughts. We thought of it the night before his keynote, and his people helped put it together, and we went out there, and then we had like one real showgirl and then me on either side escorting him up to the stage, and then so I covered my face with the feathers the whole time, and walked him up, and then just revealed myself, and the look on his face was great.
That's great.
Kiss on the cheek, and it was really cute.
All right, so let's dig into the email.
All right.
Let's just start by setting the foundation. What's the goal of this email, and what strategy are you using to achieve that goal?
So the goal of this was to really do some lead generation for a very specific kind of workshop that I was running. So I had been running now Maverick 1000 for almost 10 years at this point, and even before that, running my own mastermind group. So I had learned a tremendous amount by trial and error about high-level groups, masterminds, communities like that. And it was really done out of necessity in a way, because I had a client partner, another Maverick member who I had licensed one of my events to, and then one of the things that we did with them is had them sell a mastermind group at their event. And so instead of me wanting to sit down with them for 2 days or 3 days, just them, and just give everything I could, I said, well, why don't I leverage some of that and say, why don't I bring in 9 or 10 other people that want to know about that. So this is a lead gen with a pretty high level of, I'd say, pre-sell, or at least to get them excited enough to commit.
Okay. So your subject line is real interesting. Talk a little bit about, the formula or the technique you used here.
Yeah. So, standard, one of the copywriting formulas is this idea of wanted, right? Wanted starts to get the right person thinking, oh, am I that person? And so this idea of wanted universe creators, and universes in quotes, and then the bit of scarcity, which is a timely invitation for the right 10 people. Yeah. So it's like a long subject line, but there's a little bit of curiosity. There's and then there's also the scarcity piece, and so this idea
actually, there's a lot of curiosity. What the heck is a universe?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly? So it gets, and this idea of a universe creator, it gets you thinking, like, am I a universe creator? And now it's, for the right 10 people. So
right,
get people to open that up.
Okay, so Now, in this email, you're going to make a pretty big announcement, and the block that I numbered 2 kind of sets up the announcement. And what was the purpose of setting it up rather than going right into it?
It was a great way that you blocked that out, because normally I don't put dates on the email. So I put a date and an exact time, and this is the time that we broadcast it very much on purpose, to December 21st, which is the winter solstice. And I don't know too many emails or things that would start out saying, hey, today's the winter solstice, and about the symbolism of the event and why, what it is. And it's actually a date that I take seriously, because I use it for my own planning for the year, setting intentions for each year. But this idea of this rebirth of the sun, and so it sounds almost strange, but it really works here, because there is a big announcement that I had for this day about this idea of the rebirth of the sun and its own kind of reemergence into something else, and then it sets up the next part, which is it's only for people with flexible schedules and audacious goals for the new year.
Right. And that's a really interesting block too, because it's really short, but it does a lot. I mean, first you set the bar really high,
which is like this a global alignment that's happening each year, and then. And now you really need to be flexible and have big goals for the year.
Right. And then you give a tantalizing overview of the announcement, and then it's followed by a link to a PDF that has the details. So that's a lot to do in this very short period of time. Can you talk a little bit more about that and what it accomplishes?
Yeah. So to me, this next block really has to set the authority build, the reputation build. Okay, why should I pay attention right now to this thing, and is this even for me? And this idea of I have a commitment to teach 2 business partners everything I learned over 11 plus years of running high-end groups and masterminds and so forth. And then this idea of I never really thought I'd even go to the trouble of teaching this stuff. So there's a little bit of there's some story in there that starts building up. And then this idea of the ulterior motive. And I've started using this a lot more. I think this is a really, really powerful aspect. I've always used reason why copy, right? So this idea that Robert Cialdini in his book, Influence Psychology or Persuasion, read that book 9 times. And one of my favorite aspects of that is providing people reason why. Like people really a true reason why, and that's been true for. And this idea of an ulterior motive is like reason why on steroids to me. It's like okay, let somebody see really what you're trying to do, and this ulterior motive for me is usually a bigger picture, like something that's even more impactful. So kind of hint at that, and then it says I didn't have time to build a fancy website or put together a polished video for you. So it's kind of interesting, because most pages right now have the more polished video, have a more polished website, and it goes against the grain. And that's what even makes this announcement even more important and pertinent, is that it's just a PDF.
Yeah, and it also gives it a sense of real personalization and urgency. I didn't, go and build this whole thing. This is important. I have limited time, so I just put together a PDF for you, and it gives the sense that you did it yourself. It's not some webmaster setting this up.
I really did put it together myself. It was pretty. It was a quick thing that I thought, we should just throw it out there and see what happens. And then, I want to sell them on why they should check it out. And so I hint at this $400,000 windfall that we created with this.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about next, because in this 4th block, you then follow this up with 2 really compelling examples of what your systems have produced. And then you have a call to action, again, to check out the PDF and some scarcity, that it's only going to be available for a short period of time, or rather that you don't know if you'll do it again. That's the scarcity.
Right. Yeah, well, the event's coming up really soon, and that there are only dates that work for my calendar, and I don't know if I'll do it again. Exactly.
Right. And that I assume, well, I know you, and I know that that's valid scarcity, because I think a lot of people, these days, everybody's been taught, quote unquote, use scarcity. And they say, well, I only have 100 copies of this. And then they sell them. And then 2 days later, whoa, we just discovered we have an overprint and there's another 100, and
Yeah.
3 days later, this was so popular, I printed 100 more. And I think that you end up just destroying your reputation when you do things like that. So can you talk a little bit about using scarcity, but in an authentic way?
Yeah, and this is what, we've been, so it's fascinating because consumers have gotten smarter. You're not going to get away with the same stuff that you used to get away with 5, 10 years ago. And really you don't want to anymore. Like it doesn't make you feel good if you have a pop-up on your site that's cookie to when they show up and gives them a particular deal or something like that.
Yeah.
You can get away with it for a certain amount of time, but most people have gotten really smart about marketing.
Yeah.
And they are like, if you really treat people with respect, as far as their level of comprehension of what goes on in the marketing process, you'll do much better and kind of let them in on truly being almost like an equal in that way. And so the scarcity, absolutely it works, but it's got to be done in a true way. So obviously an event like this has a lot of built-in scarcity because there's a date and in this case, there's a limited amount of people. And we, I wouldn't have gone over the amount of people that I put out there. And so there's a little bit of maybe a balancing act between how many people do we think would fit for this, how many people would work for the kind of level of high level teaching that I want to do here. So you do want to make some estimates in this aspect, but you make it, you set it up and you say, okay, this is what we're doing. And that's it. You stick with it.
Yeah. And I think what you said is so important. Tricks work for a short amount of time, but people catch on and nobody likes to be tricked. And if you use a trick as a mechanism, you're going to pay for it. And I forget, a really famous ad man. It wasn't John Caples, but it was someone in that genre. And
Ogilvy talking about
Ogilvy, yes.
Yeah.
The customer isn't an idiot. She's a wife.
Exactly.
Great quote.
And it's still, he said that in the 60s, I believe.
Yeah.
And maybe even 50s. And Ogilvy, it's a little side topic, but I think that I know you would agree with this is marketers, online marketers, especially anyone who's trying to sell something, they forget about some of those fundamental icons who really, really, like, to me, I love like every one of those people, the Caples, the Ogilvy, the Maxwell Sackheims, the John E. Kennedys, the people like that. Like you can't get enough of them because you go back to bedrock, you go back to fundamental, and it doesn't matter that they didn't understand whatever websites or emails. It's all the same principles when applied.
Yeah, because human nature is the same. It doesn't change. And
Right.
Nobody likes to be tricked. Nobody ever has. Nobody ever will. And there's so many, and it is a little bit of a tangent, but there's so many courses selling the trick of the week or the trick of the month. And it ends up just being a very bad posture to be in, and people don't quite understand that.
And there's so much transparency, right? Because it's somebody is going to find out, and then via Twitter, via Facebook, via whatever, it's going to start spreading, and it's not worth it, and you feel better.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, so the fifth and final block, the PS, is very unique here because it isn't until here that you actually reveal your ulterior motive.
Yeah.
Referred to earlier. So why did you hold off on actually laying out what that is until this point?
Well, I wanted to build up that curiosity from that beginning. And then, I wanted to keep them pulled through the email, which is a little bit more benefit oriented. Here's, wow, this unique thing this could be something that I could really profit from. And then at the end, which is the ulterior motive, I had to go back to it somewhere, so we had to make it work somewhere. And to me, the PS was the best part for this, because a PS is an opportunity to sometimes reintroduce a new idea, to go deeper on a particular idea, to remind them about something. But this was a longer PS than I would normally write, because we had to hit, okay, what is the ulterior motive? And now we have to build up, okay, what is a universe creator? And if I did it any earlier, it might have thrown people off for what's the real benefit for this, because my ulterior motive is for me, really, about the bigger impact that I can make. But then when people see that big picture, they're like, yeah, I'd like to get involved in that. So
yeah, and that they can make an impact like that as well.
Yeah. So this idea of a universe creator is that you can become a hub and influencer for an entire industry or sector or network that then I can help you create, because then I have, only one person that becomes this node with a lot of leverage, and I can go to them and say, hey, Bob, you have this group of chiropractors that you have in your group, and we want to do this with all chiropractors or get this message out. Can you be that person? And yeah, then it becomes a lot of leverage for me.
Excellent. Well, great. All right. So let me drop the email off the screen. Well, that was fantastic. So with all of that, why don't you tell people how they can find out more about you, what you're doing now, and how they can get involved with that?
Sure. I have two main things that I'm really working on. One is this group called Maverick 1000, which is a group of exceptional entrepreneurs, CEOs, founders, and we get together a couple times a year who members really care about growing themselves, making a difference in the world, and then having some fun in the process. And so that's at maverick1000.com.
Okay.
And then we do events for that group around, we do a summer camp, which is really amazing, which is like the summer camp that you grew up with, but that also brings in these amazing type keynote presenters, but they're presenting and everyone's in beanbag chairs or something like that. So it's quite a lot of fun. And so we'll do things like that, and we'll go, this year we're going on a safari with Richard Branson. Usually we go to his island once a year. So it's some pretty exceptional things that we get to do and partake in. And the other thing is Evolved Enterprise. It's my latest book. It's all about how business can make a difference in the world, and how that impact drives everything, how the mission gets your team aligned, your customers to want to buy more, and it even drives more profits. And so those are the two big things.
Okay. And how do people find out more about Evolved Enterprise?
They can go to Amazon, buy the book there, or evolvedenterprise.com.
Okay, great. And I'll have links to both of those in the show notes.
Perfect.
All right. Well, great. Yanik, thanks so much for taking the time to share this unique email. And I hope you get another chance to score a breakaway goal again.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Okay, thanks so much.